Welcome to this edition of San Diego People. I'm Ross Becker. Now, we all know homelessness is a huge problem in this country, and especially here in San Diego. But what you might not realize is that nationwide, more than 40% of the homeless are families with children. Many people from many organizations are working on this problem, and one of those organizations is a group called Solutions for Change. People from there are joining me today to tell us why they believe their model is the right one for success. I'm joined first by Chris Megison, the CEO and founder of Solutions for Change. Chris, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me here today, Ross.
You know, I see homeless people all the time when I'm driving downtown San Diego and other places that I go. Many times they're faceless to me, and that's a shame. But I didn't realize that among all of the people that we see out there on the streets, there are actual families. There's family units. Tell me about that, and how does that work, and why does that happen?
There's a lot of families out there, and you don't see these families pushing a cart down the street or panhandling on the street. The moms, typically it's a single mom, so about 80% of the homeless families out there are a mom with 2 or 3 kids, and they're living in the car in the back parking lot of a church, or they're in a motel voucher. They get a motel voucher for a few weeks, and then that runs out, and then shelter, and then they can stay there maybe for a couple of months, and it's back to the street, and you don't see them out there. But as you just said, 41% nationally, that's about 250,000 families with children out there that are homeless. And here in San Diego County, it's about 3,000 or 4,000 people.
Now, when you say children, are these could these be children going to school next to your children? They are going to school, right?
That's right. I mean, they're going to school.
And then they're going home to, again, the backseat of a car?
Going home to their home, which is the backseat of a car, which might be a shelter. And, you know, these shelters you're talking about emergency type shelters, so they're either sleeping on the floor or they're sleeping on a cot. They're in a motel for a few weeks. So, yeah, I mean, they're right there. I mean, and most times you wouldn't know that child is homeless, but the teachers find out pretty quick that this child is homeless. And then, what can you do? I mean, it's a pretty sad situation.
Is the reason for family homelessness the same as, I guess, what I consider traditional homelessness, the man with the shopping cart, the woman on the corner? Is the reason the same, or are the reasons different sometimes?
You know, that question that you asked right there is, in my mind, is a question that isn't asked enough, and really isn't asked in a way to get to what is the cause of this family that is now homeless. In Solutions for Change, we called ourselves Solutions for Change. We named ourselves for that reason. How do we find what caused the homelessness? Then how do we equip the parent with the skills, knowledge, and resources that they need to attack those problems and solve it permanently? What are those problems? Yeah. Poverty, multi-generational poverty, addiction of many different kinds, not just drugs and alcohol, but you got gambling. There's other addictions out there. Mental health issues, domestic violence. These are tough issues that if we don't help them solve it, then what are we doing? We're putting a Band-Aid on the problem, and, there we go. They're going to show up in other places in our community. Let's say we give the person a live. Well, if we're not addressing the causative factors, then you have a person who's really unhappy, and there's a lot of stuff going on still, and now they're living behind a door somewhere. That doesn't really solve the problem.
So these families, are they traditional families? Can it be man and woman? Can it be husband, wife? Yeah. Or is it mostly women with children?
Yeah, so Solutions for Change right now is helping 133 families a day. And I said about 80% or so are single moms.
Let's underline that. 133 families per day.
Per day.
Here in the San Diego area.
Here in San Diego area. That's about 500 people.
It's incredible.
Ross, I mean, it's a lot of people. We started in a little tiny church as an emergency winter shelter in 1999, and we've grown because this community is amazing. I mean, they saw the model, so we have a very different type of model. We see this problem very differently, and we approach it very differently than most nonprofits. I'd love to share that with you.
Well, give me, first of all, the nucleus of what a homeless family generally looks like. Is it usually a woman with children alone? Usually.
Yeah. Average mom, 2 kids.
Okay. And does she have a job?
She doesn't have a job. She's lost her job. She's on welfare. She's on TANF, food stamps, really fully dependent on government aid, government programs, and
not enough to get a place to live.
Not enough to get a place to live.
And the men who are on the street in this family situation, what's their circumstance usually?
Same kind of thing. I mean, there can be a mom and a dad with kids. We have quite a few of those in Solutions for Change right now. Same thing, lost their job. Sometimes it's illness, so an illness happens in the family. It could be a parent, a child. This is a crisis then, and it creates a lot of issues for the family. Next thing you know, they can't pay the rent. You can't pay the rent. Where do we go?
And asking for help is always an embarrassment, isn't it?
It's hard
for many families.
For many families to do. And, they ask friends for help and family for help, and before you know it, they're living in a car.
What's the factor of drugs and mental health? Because in the traditional homeless model, that is a major problem.
Major problem. Okay. And I will tell you, I've been doing this now for 23 years after I got out of the Marine Corps. So I've been on in a different battlefield now in San Diego County for 23 years. And lately I've been hearing some things that have been concerning me about, well, they're just they just became homeless somehow. They just ran into some hard times. Most people that are out there homeless are there because of drug addiction and alcoholism. So you have untreated drug addicts and alcoholics are out there, and that's what addiction does. It robs you. It takes everything, and then when you've lost it all, including your home, your family, your friends, your job, your car, everything, where do you end up? You end up on the street. So this isn't something where, it really bothers me when I hear, oh, these people are victims. I'm compassionate. You're compassionate. We all want to help these people. The last thing you want to do is go and engage this person as like they are a victim. You want to help them and help them uncover and discover what's going on here, and give me some hope.
It's got to come from inside, doesn't it?
Got to come from inside.
So,
and you can do that. That's possible. It's not just
Oh, no,
it's not some pie in the sky thing. It's like they can get this hope and they can change.
Solutions for Change. We're going to talk the next segment about your farm, which is that'll be the little tease I'm going to give people. But tell me what you guys do differently to approach this, other than the victim issue, which you just talked about, which is seeing the person. But then when you get them, how do you make them understand that there is a way that they can fix this?
Right. So the first thing that I'd like your viewers to see and understand, and they're going to learn a lot of when they go to our webpage, but we are social entrepreneurs. We're not human service workers or social workers. We're social entrepreneurs that are trying to solve this problem long term. You know what would be awesome for us? Put us out of business. We'll go solve gangs or something. We don't need to have homeless people like have a job.
Choose
right?
another problem.
We'll get another problem to solve, right? So here's what we did. We said, well, if this is happening then, and we're going to try to solve this, we need to do something entirely different then. So we built a model, the country's first leadership development residential program for the homeless. Because our thinking was this: if we can help somebody like you're going to talk to Jennifer here, learn how to lead herself, then she'll lead her kids. She can also be a leader in the community. Now, I know that sounds kind of weird, like, Chris, what are you talking about? Homeless people being leaders. But that's exactly what happens when you invest the leadership training in them. They learn how to do this. And our secret sauce is workforce development, because what we see is look, you got to get back out and you got to get a job.
And there's pride there when you have a job.
There's pride there, and you got to get a job. Well, Chris, I haven't had a job in 3 years. Well, you're going to get one, and we're going to work with you, and that's going to happen. So what we've demonstrated is $41 million in cost savings over the last 16 years that we've been around, because now these people come to us dependent on welfare, no more welfare, no more food stamps. So we've tracked that. Now where are they? They're in jobs. They're working in the community. They're giving back to society. And that's an exciting transformation, and that's because we built this model. We call it the Solutions University. It's a 1,000-day model. So if you were to look at that, your viewers will look at that. Hey, there's not a lot of 1,000-day models out there, but this is what we do. And so we ship our kids off to college and say, go build the foundation for your future. But then we think a homeless person is going to figure this out in a 3-month winter shelter tent or some other place. No, they're not going to figure it out. 1,000 days to a permanent solution. And that's what we've done. It's exciting to watch these families come in. They're hurting. They're struggling. Next thing you know, they're back straight. They're smiling. They're going to work, and the kids are happy. That's what Solutions for Change is about. We are transforming lives through this different kind of model of a university-like on-campus living, and then they go off-campus, and it's a 1,000-day transformation.
If you can plant that seed of the passion I just saw in you, then it's working.
It's working.
That's working.
That's working. I mean, we know it's working because we got success stories to share with you.
Well, Chris, we're going to learn some more about it. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to hear about a rather unusual way Solutions for Change is getting families off the streets and making that transformation we just heard about. San Diego people will